Ukraine drone flies low across an open hillside, tracking movement soldiers near a trench line, hidden among rocks and scattered trees. The drone navigates through rough terrain and dense vegetation, searching for targets concealed beneath natural cover. The footage captures the Russia soldiers, highlighting how FPV drones can locate positions Russia soldiers. Every second brings the drone closer to its objective. A reconnaissance Ukraine drone hovers Russia soldiers in village, scanning the shattered remains of homes and narrow pathways below. Amid the rubble, Russia's soldier cautiously moves between damaged buildings, unaware that every step is being watched from above. The drone tracks the movement with precision, capturing a tense moment on a battlefield where survival depends on speed, concealment, and constant vigilance. In modern warfare, the sky has become the ultimate observer, turning every exposed position into a potential target. Ukraine's drone hovers silently above a shattered battlefield, revealing enemy Russia forces hiding inside the ruins of a heavily damaged building. Moments later, precision strikes hit the target, sending thick clouds of smoke and debris into the air. But the Russians are no closer to capturing Lyman, despite months of effort. They've been trying to bypass the city to the north, but Ukrainian counterattacks keep blunting and rolling back their advances. Small teams of Russian infantry have fared no better while trying to infiltrate Lyman. They've only succeeded in creating the impression of progress. The Russians have enjoyed some recent success in the south. After a long aerial bombardment and ground siege, they recently infiltrated Kostiantynivka, forcing the city's garrison to pull back in order to avoid encirclement. Yes, some small teams of Russian infantry have managed to plant a few flags in Lyman recently. But that doesn't mean the flag planters stayed or even survived. Russia never consolidated in any of these areas, AMK mapping noted. Don't buy the impression. Russian infiltrators sneaking into Lyman from a small Russian foothold in the city's eastern outskirts haven't yet succeeded in dislodging Ukrainian troops in most of Lyman. Reports of new Russian lodgements and Ukrainian counterattacks aimed at clearing out those lodgements are inaccurate. Misreading the Russian flag operations, some observers invented imaginary Ukrainian operations to explain why the overall pattern of confirmable Ukrainian versus Russian presence in Lyman didn't change even as a few Russian flags briefly popped up. The situation has remained the same for weeks, with a very small part of the eastern neighborhoods used for infiltrations, Moline added. Infiltrations continue all around the city, which is not a proof of control. Many accounts are inventing a Ukrainian counterattack/clearing operation in Lyman to cover their previous lies/mistakes, mapper Clément Moline explained. Russian forces never took control of any part of Lyman city, and there was no counterattack. The combination of Russian encirclement and infiltration led to the belated collapse of Ukrainian defenses in Kostiantynivka, but the same Russian strategy is failing in Lyman, for now. It's not that the strategy isn't a sound one, all things considered, but overall battlefield conditions have changed in ways that came too late to save Kostiantynivka, but may yet save Lyman. Lyman holds. If anything, the Ukrainian hold on the city is stabilizing as Ukrainian counterattacks north of Lyman squeeze a Russian salient jutting a few kilometers to the west. If the Russians can't eject Lyman's defenders by infiltrating the city, they could partially surround it along its outskirts, putting pressure on the garrison's supply lines and eventually compelling them to retreat. Namely, Ukrainian forces have radically escalated their drone strikes across the Russian logistical zone, stretching 200 kilometers behind the gray zone. New AI-assisted fixed-wing drones and tiny first-person view quadcopter drones wearing range-extending wings have pummeled Russian supply lines with growing intensity since this spring, knocking out hundreds of Russian cargo trucks and sapping the strength of frontline regiments and brigades before they can even attempt an infiltration or encirclement. It's not for no reason that, even taking into account Russian advances through the ruins of Kostiantynivka, the overall pace of Russian gains is down to just 30 square kilometers this month. That's around 10% of the territory Russian troops captured in June 2025. The Russians are slowing down almost everywhere but Kostiantynivka. That includes Lyman, where recent reports of Russian gains were an illusion. Some of the best defenses against Russia's new motorcycle regiments are also some of the simplest. Metal spikes, concertina wire, small mines, and even trenches. When Russia pivoted to motorcycle-based offense, Ukraine began shifting to anti-motorcycle defense. There were delays, but new bike-beating tools are proliferating across the 1,100-kilometer front line of Russia's wider war on Ukraine. It's possible these new tools are already slowing Russia's summer offensive. Some Ukrainian drones are dropping traffic spikes, unfolding ribbons with tire-popping metal spikes, in order to block roads ahead of Russian motorcycle assaults. The traffic spikes work. A video montage posted online by the Ukrainian 82nd Air Assault Brigade recently depicts drones dropping the spikes by night near Pokrovsk and causing Russian bike troops to crash by day. The brigade apparently sends grenade-dropping bomber drones and explosive first-person view drones to strike the ejected riders after they crash. For at least a year now, Ukrainian drone teams, including the famed Birds of Magyar, have been seeding roads behind the Russian line with pointy chunks of metal called caltrops that, like the traffic spikes, can pop tires and stop traffic.